welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here to finally do the second update of my pregnancy journey and to talk to you guys all about second trimester and what the second trimester has been like. So if you hear the little pecking noise in the back, please ignore it. It's actually my husband doing some handiwork right now in the nursery, putting up the curtains and the curtain holdbacks so that we can do the final touches of the nursery. Today, I'm actually not in the second trimester. I'm actually in the third trimester at this point. I'm actually literally at the end waiting for little baby to arrive. But like I promised, I wanted to make sure that I did discuss while still pregnant and while still having the memory of everything that has transpired to share with you all today. So, got my little notes here. I've been trying to take notes as much as possible throughout this entire thing, but I haven't been consistent because life has gotten busy. I mean, I have been really busy between today is August, and so I have been really busy. Like once July hit, it has been like non-stop. And just all the things that we have to do, just the to-do list just was never ending because there was just so much to do, so much to purchase, so much to put up, arrange, clean, you name it. It was just so many things. It's like preparing for a wedding. It's like when I had to prepare for my wedding and I had a year in advance to do this. Granted, I didn't have a year to pregnancy, but it still do have some time. But it's just I'm thinking back to like how I felt with our planning our wedding and how overwhelming it felt at times, and just thinking about in comparison to now and how overwhelming it feels at times to make sure that I have everything done as much as I can, because you'll never get everything 100%. Nothing will go perfectly, as I have learned time and time again. But I do want to make sure that I am prepared as much as possible so that when he does arrive, that I can just relax knowing that if not all, majority of the work is complete, and now it's just time to enjoy him and just being in his company. But anywho, so second trimester. So I started second trimester depending on what your doctor says and what app you follow. Second trimester can start anywhere between week 13 or week 14. For my specific doctor's office, they track or measures the second trimester starting at week 14. Week 14 for me was some point in February. I'm not entirely sure. I think it might have been the very beginning of February. Whenever I figure out what week 14 was, I'll make sure to put that information here, but it was definitely in February. So, as I had explained how terrible I had felt in my first video of first trimester, second trimester was off to a better start. It didn't happen immediately. At 13 weeks, I think I was still overcoming the symptoms of what I was feeling previously with the acid reflux, the heartburn, the nausea, the nausea not at that point, but just the fatigue, and I was still experiencing that. I think it took me maybe around like week 15, maybe 15 or 16 to feel like, okay, I think I have some energy now. Like I'm starting to feel a little bit normal, like normal Stephanie. Normal as I can be during pregnancy. But I started to feel like my energy levels were starting to stable out, and they were starting to feel a bit more normal, and I wasn't crashing the way that I was first trimester. So second trimester has been overall, I would say between first and third trimester, has been the best trimester of the entire pregnancy. It's like the sweet spot. I guess that's why it's in the middle. It's the sweet spot of like, okay, at least for me in my experience, I know this is not everyone's experience, and I know every woman is different, but for me, second trimester has been like that sweet spot of like, okay, you're feeling like yourself again, you have your energy, you can resume some of the things that you were doing before you got pregnant, you can eat some of the things that were you were eating before first trimester like ruined it all for you. Like slowly things that were normal for me, I was reintroducing those things second trimester. So second trimester was great for that overall reason I would say between first and second trimester. If I had to rank it, it'd for sure be second trimester, third trimester, and then first trimester being the last one, because Lord knows I never want to live first trimester ever again. Some significant moments or significant things that happened during second trimester was like towards the third week of March. I think it was around like 18 weeks pregnant, and that is when I started to feel the very mild movements in my womb. It was hard for me to distinguish, like, is it gas? Is it the baby? Is it something else? I don't know. So it was around that mark that I remember feeling it, because I remember feeling these these little jabs, I would say. Not pain. When I say jabs, they're not painful, but like these little thuds I would feel in the center of my like lower abdomen. Like I would say right at the bikini line is where I felt those little jabs. And I remember driving. Terrible thing to do. But I remember driving, we were actually heading to New Orleans in March, and I told my husband, I was like, I think I feel something. I think I feel something. And I remember taking his hand and like putting it on my lower abdomen. I was like, do you feel that? Do you feel that? He's like, yeah. It was really, really faint, but I was super, super excited because I was like, oh my God, I think I finally feel the baby. This is so exciting. And shortly after that, which is into week 19, is actually when I had the ultrasound that determined the sex of the baby. And we actually did not find out immediately. We actually did a gender reveal, which you've seen on my channel, but we actually didn't find out the gender immediately. We actually found out like a couple of weeks later after we had recorded our gender reveal, because since, you know, being pregnant through the pandemic, I haven't traveled. Besides visiting family, like I haven't traveled to travel. Like we went to New Orleans to go visit some of my in-laws and my in-laws side of the family, and besides that, I haven't really gone anywhere. I've been home trying to practice social distancing and trying to keep safe, just because I had COVID last year. I know what it felt like, and I did not want to repeat that experience again, because it was not fun at all. Like I wouldn't wish that on anybody. April rolls around. That month is actually when sleep became a problem. Little did I know that early in pregnancy that I would feel so uncomfortable that I couldn't sleep, especially after experiencing like a period of time where for months all I could do was sleep, and it was some of the best sleep of my life that I haven't had in a long time. Like I'm talking like I haven't slept that good since last year during COVID, because COVID made me so fatigued that I slept for like 9 to 10 hours, and I felt like I slept like a baby. Like that is a sleep that I had experienced first trimester, even though when I would wake up I felt like I didn't sleep enough. But there were moments where I'm just like, ooh, I slept, and I know I slept. The issue with April, the reason why I couldn't sleep, is that it just started to feel uncomfortable, or it just started to get more difficult to feel comfortable in bed. And so I found myself tossing and turning a lot. I do have a pregnancy pillow, thanks to my friend. She had actually purchased one for me. You the best, girl. And that did help some. It didn't obviously remove entirely what I was experiencing, but it did provide some comfort to me in the month of April, which was great, because laying completely flat, well, you're not supposed to lay completely flat on your back, but laying completely flat on my left or right side of my body was not comfortable either, because it kind of just shifted all my weight to one side, and especially on my hip. And so that having something kind of under me to kind of cushion some of that weight definitely helped. Fast forwarding to the end of April, beginning of May, I started experiencing nightmares. Like I haven't had a nightmare, I don't know, well, it's been more frequent since pregnancy, but with pregnancy in general, dreams have been extremely vivid in pregnancy, like never before. Like I have never dreamt so much in my life. I don't feel like I have so many dreams when I go to bed. I don't know if it's definitely the baby, because this is not who I was before, but I have been dreaming like non-stop. I'm talking about like every single night, dreaming and waking up the next day and being able to recall the dreams, because that's also been a hard thing for me. Is like usually when I would sleep, I would remember vague things here and there, but when having the vivid dreams, things felt so real that it was easier to recall them when I woke up the next day. So in the midst of those vivid dreams, there were good dreams, dreams in the middle, you know, whatever, like they're not spectacular, but then there was the nightmares. And I remember towards the beginning of May experiencing those, you know, those nightmares, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, like around like 3 a.m. and freaked out. My husband is clearly like not next to me, but I am freaked out. And once I'm awake and my heart is racing from a bad dream, I noticed that is when the baby was actually responding to what I was actually experiencing. So although I wasn't physically in danger, my what's what I'm looking for, my nervous system still put me in the fight or flight mode because of what I was experiencing in my dream. And so my heart is racing. So then I started feeling these like kicks, movements, whatever, from the baby, but they just felt pretty like, they didn't hurt or anything, but they were pretty profound movements or kicks from the baby. And I knew, it was like, crap, the baby is responding based on what I'm experiencing, because he's also feeling the same thing too. And I remember feeling so bad like that entire month, because it kept happening like almost for like several times a week. I feel like almost every week. And maybe it was just me being more afraid that I was going to have a nightmare, that it caused me to have one. I have no idea. But I just know that it did freak me out for a long time, because I was just really imagining how much of me is truly affecting the baby, and wanting to be, you know, being really concerned about that, and not wanting to do anything to harm him, etc. It was just really hard, I will say, to say the least. But continuing on the month of May, sleep just gets progressively worse. Like I said, you're limited to sleeping on your left and right side. Because of that, as my belly is expanding, is actually getting bigger, it makes moving, literally the movement moving from on your back from one side to the other, extremely hard, because you don't realize how much you need your core until you can't use it anymore. Because of that, it made literally the simplest move from left to right extremely difficult. And I remember part of the reason why my sleep quality just continued to diminish is because it woke me up. Like the fact that I had to put more effort into, like, okay, I gotta roll over. All right, let's roll over. Okay, roll over here. Okay, we're comfortable. We got enough pillows to support. It was just so annoying, and I was just so aggravated and just so frustrated at the entire process. And I was like, Lord, I just can't wait for this to be over. I worked out pretty consistently all of 2020, and into 2021 I wanted to continue the same behavior, because working out for me is more than just trying to achieve a specific physique. I just love the way it makes me feel. I love to feel strong. I like to watch my progression and being able to lift more. It's just really encouraging. It's just there's a lot of benefits to working out besides looking good. And so I wanted to continue to feel that, to experience that, and to continue to do that. One, because I didn't want to start back from zero or start back from scratch, because starting over with working out is the worst feeling in the world, and I hate it. And I knew, but naturally, because I am pregnant, I would be losing more muscle mass, and my body fat will be increased, because that's just the composition of a woman's body as you're preparing for a baby. And so I started working out probably like April, like consistently. Like I'm talking about like at least 3 times a week consistent, which was nice. And it started off that way. And working out for me wasn't always doing weight training. I would do walks around my neighborhood, which I probably did like before it got extremely hot outside. I was doing like almost every single day, because at that point I was still working from home, and I'm pretty sedentary when you're sitting at a desk all day on a computer. So I made sure to walk a lap around my neighborhood at least twice a day if I could. If not, it'd be at least once. And the lap around my neighborhood, one of the routes in my neighborhood is about 1 mile if I do that lap, and I would try at least to do that twice a day. So I was doing anywhere between 10, I would say on a good day, on a lower end, maybe 7 miles per week. On a good week, I was probably getting up to like anywhere between 12 and 14 miles per week by simply just walking around my neighborhood. So that kept my weight pretty steady for a while. I didn't have much weight gain in the month of April or May because of that reason. And so and then I started doing weight training at home because I have some free weights here, and I would just find a YouTube video. There's this channel called Fitness Blender that I have been doing for years, and that is what I did last year when the gyms were all closed, when everything was locked down, and what I did initially because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back to the gym or not. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I would do that, and then eventually I felt more comfortable to go to the gym. And so at that point I was still going to the gym maybe once or twice, mostly doing cardio, because there is a step class that I love to go to that's about an hour long, and I was going to step class like every single week, literally up until the last week of July. Every single week, sometimes twice a week if the instructor was available. Twice a week, but usually I would go on Wednesdays, I would go on Saturday mornings, and that was my schedule that I did for 3 months, and it just felt like normal again for me, which was great. And then occasionally when I had the time or had the energy, if I wasn't working out too late in the day, or if I would go on my lunch breaks, I would hop over to the gym, do a quick 30-minute like weight training session. And I was just essentially following the same structure of the workout that I was doing prior to pregnancy. With weight training, I wasn't lifting as heavy because I knew that I was like, I'm not doing this to build muscle. I am just trying to maintain what I already have in hopes to not lose too much muscle mass. Also, what began in May is that I started to crave sweets again, which was so nice, because as you know, my first video, sweets were like the last thing I ever wanted on earth to eat, and it was really nice to be able to actually have the cravings for sweets again and eat them and not have an adverse reaction. It was great. I was like, yes, I miss this. This is good. I still could not eat the same amount of sugar I did before, like as far as like unnatural sugars, like sweets, cakes, things like that. Usually if I'm really craving sweets, I will just eat a piece of fruit. Fruit has been my saving grace throughout this entire pregnancy because fruit has been neutral enough for me to eat it. Also in May, so around like mid-May, that is actually when I started experiencing these really painful moments where I get these sharp pains in my breasts. And I think that was just, I guess that's just, the body preparing my breast to produce milk for the baby. I'm assuming so, but it was like someone like stabbed me in the chest, and I was like, there be moments I'm just like, oh God, like, wait for it to pass, and then I wait for it to pass, and then it passes. So usually it's like a few seconds, sometimes I think maybe less than 5 minutes, but no more than 5 minutes at a time, if it was an extended period of time. And because of that, I actually started I could actually if I press my breast hard enough, I can actually see a little bit of fluid actually come out of it. So I'm just like, okay, so my body's actually making this all work and actually preparing, for the baby. So this is really cool, but also this is really cool because this is happening to me, and me getting really excited and giddy and showing my husband look what happened, and him just laughing at me because he's just like, you are such a special little person. Because I just find joy in such the smallest things, like, oh my God, this is so cool. Don't know what caused it, but my appetite definitely fluctuated throughout the second trimester. There would be moments where I'm just like, I just didn't want any food. There were periods, especially in the first trimester and in the very beginning, where I just felt like I couldn't eat enough. But then towards the end, I felt like I didn't want food at all, which was really strange. At the end of May, that pretty much wrapped up second trimester and all the events that has happened. So nothing extreme. It was really, really good. I definitely wish I could feel like that my entire pregnancy, but nothing lasts forever. One thing I forgot to mention about second trimester is all the testing that I had to do in this time. So one of the series of tests that I had to take was because since I am of African descent, sickle cell anemia is actually very common in African Americans, anyone of African descent specifically, because both my parents are from the Caribbean. They're from Haiti, but they're still of African descent. And sickle cell anemia actually runs in my family, actually on my dad's side of the family. And so that is one thing that I had to let the nurses know, that yes, I would like to be tested for this, because, you know, my father could be possibly a carrier because it's on his side of the family. Thankfully, everything came back fine, and the baby doesn't have any traits of sickle cell anemia, which was great. So I had to do a lot of blood work, and you know, checking my iron levels, checking my glucose levels, and all those things. I actually in May did do the glucose testing, which wasn't bad at all. But the glucose test, it was just like a little bottle, maybe it's like 3 or 4 ounces of juice or whatever's in there, and it tasted like juice. I chugged the thing. It was pretty easy to go down. It was just waiting for the hour, you know, to be like in the room playing games on my phone, checking social media, as you know, for time to go by for me to get my test results. I mean, for me to actually go and give my blood so that I can get my test results later. Like I mentioned before at the start of this video, second trimester has definitely been a sweet spot, because it allowed me to regain some normalcy that I felt like I had lost, and you know, with my body and in its growing phase and all the process of all the changes, etc. So that has been really nice. So if you have any questions about second trimester that I may not have covered in this video, please make sure you leave those questions in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Also, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe now. Hit that bell to turn on the notifications. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know so I can continue to produce more content for you all. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.